The air in Chentong Pass had forgotten how to move. It hung thick with the scent of rotting lotuses and burnt offerings, clinging to the skin like a second funeral shroud. The shrine at the village edge grew taller each season, not from human hands, but from the weight of desperate prayers. Its wooden beams pulsed like living veins, drinking in the whispers of fathers who came begging for obedient sons, and sons who came begging for dead fathers. Qing remembered the first time he'd knelt there 7 years prior. A pale boy with a knife in his hands and his father's words carved into his bones. "You were born wrong." The blade NEZHA had given him still gleamed like new, though it had tasted every one of King's fingers over the years. A test, a punishment, a way to feel something other than the hollow ache where his father's love should have been. Now groaner, something like Qing, returned with a bowl of his own teeth clutched in shaking hands. The shrine statue watched him with chipped stone eyes, its smile cracked wider than any human mouth could stretch. "Teach me," Qing whispered, pressing his forehead to the blood-stained pedestal. The bowl trembled, teeth clattering like dice. "Teach me to be enough." Behind him, the village slept fitfully. Children twisted in their beds, murmuring lullabies in languages no living tongue should know. Their pillows bloomed with lotus petals that wept crimson sap. Along the riverbank, clay dolls with King's face crawled from the mud on tiny grasping hands, singing backward hymns. "Father is the first god. The first god is a blade." The statue blinked. Inside the shrine, a place that existed both in Chentong Pass and somewhere far older, far hungrier, NEZHA waited. His lotus-root body unfurled from the altar, with the sound of tearing parchment, petals shedding from his arms like dead skin. He hadn't aged, hadn't healed. The wounds from his first death still glistened, knife cuts in his belly, waterlogged lungs visible through the cage of his ribs. Beautiful, rotting, perfect. "You came back," NEZHA said, tilting his head until his neck cracked. His voice was the sound of a violin string snapping. "You brought a hunger." King's hands found the hollow of his own chest. "I don't want to become him," he admitted. The words tasted like broken teeth, but I can't stop hearing his voice. NEZHA smiled a slow, terrible understanding. "Neither could I." His finger pressed between King's ribs. No pain, just the wet pop of parting flesh, the sigh of something unclenching. No blood spilled, only breath cold and sharp and screaming pouring from the opening like a gutted bellows. "I'll plant you," NEZHA whispered, and the shrine walls pulsed in time with the words. For 7 nights, Qing slept beneath the black earth, wrapped in roots that hummed with old lullabies. NEZHA fed him memories like a mother bird chewing meat for her chicks. Li Jing, a sword trembling at NEZHA's throat. 1,000 other fathers' hands raised in identical strikes. The wet crunch of a violin breaking. The way disappointment could carve a home inside a boy's ribs and call it love. When Qing emerged, his skin had taken on the sheen of river-wet jade. His new robe stitched itself from fallen leaves and the delicate bones of songbirds, each one shaped like a key. His chest cavity pulsed with something that wasn't a heart but a knot of dark water, swirling in time with NEZHA's footsteps. Chentong Pass noticed the change before they noticed Qing. Mirrors refused to reflect children. Fathers woke screaming that their sons' eyes had turned to lotus pods. The wind carried a single question on endless repeat. "Do you love me yet?" The clay dolls worked tirelessly, their tiny hands dragging men to the shrine by their hair. Fathers, uncles, teachers, the ones who had made their sons kneel on rice grains or broken their fingers for holding a brush wrong. Qing received them cross-legged, a red thread stretching from his navel to their trembling lips. "Confess," NEZHA would murmur, perched on the altar like a carrion bird. The confessions spilled like rotten fruit from a burst sack. "I burned his books. I preferred his brother. I told him he was a mistake." Qing listened, his river heart swirling darker with each admission. Then always he inhaled the thread. The men vanished with wet, gasping sounds. Not dead, not alive, just gestating inside King's hollow belly, where NEZHA's lullabies could soften their sharp edges. When Taiyi Genren arrived blind shaking, carrying a lotus pod that vibrated with trapped screams, he fell to his knees before the altar. "I came to free you," he wept, fingers brushing NEZHA's rotting foot. The laugh that tore from NEZHA's throat sent cracks spider-webbing through the shrine walls. "You freed me once," he corrected, tilting the sage's chin up with a moss-grown toe. "Look what I've done with it." Qing stepped forward, his leaf rope whispering, "You're late." The lotus pod in Taiyi's hands burst. The whispers inside centuries of children's stifled sobs wrapped around the old man like loving arms, then tighter, until his bones became part of the shrine's new foundation. His last breath stitched into the chorus. The child becomes the cage becomes the god. In the end, the villagers built a tower, not to honor their ancestors, but to contain what they'd created. A spiral of finger bones and prayer beads, rising crooked toward the bleeding moon. At its peak sat two figures, one made of lotus roots and open wounds, the other of sorrow and sharpened steel. They didn't speak, they didn't need to. Every night, hollow-eyed children climbed the tower steps, their chests cracked open like unfinished poems. The boys taught them to weave new hearts from piano wire and milk teeth, to fill their bellies with the songs of dead fathers. Some called them monsters, some called them justice, the truth. They were sons, and they had always been listening.